Hey everybody, Jeremy Tucker here, Patriot. Before we get started, I do want to talk about the elephant in the room, my face. As you can see, I'm pretty banged up. There are those out there, including some of my close friends and family, who are circulating the rumor that I was in fact involved in a traffic accident, that my belief in the unconstitutionality of traffic lights in fact led to a rather severe accident that backed up traffic here in Chicago for in excess of an hour. But I can assure you that nothing is further from the truth. Those are malicious lies. In fact, what had happened was I was on my way to the flag shop, Joe's Flag Repair here in Chicago. They do great work. Been taking my flags to them for the last 40-50 years, and it was damp out, and I slipped and fell. Today I want to talk about some of the barriers that are preventing our beautiful economy from reopening fully. As you know, back in March, our economy was abruptly shut down in direct contravention to the Constitution due to the so-called coronavirus flu. Now that the virus is on the wane, things are starting to return to normal. Some folks on the left are whining about having to go back to jobs, complaining that they might be potentially exposing themselves to a contagious and fatal virus about which only little is known. So first things first, if you are an employee working for an employer, you don't set your own schedule. If your boss orders you back to work, you have to comply. The Constitution is pretty clear on this, which I'll get into a little bit later. If you're worried about the coronavirus flu, it's not your employer's job to protect you. That's your job. You need to take personal responsibility. If you have a sniffle, is it then your employer's job to wipe your nose with a Kleenex? Are they supposed to bathe and feed you too? I mean, when does it end? If getting sick at work really is that big of a deal to you, you can bring your own disinfectant. You can get to your workstation early, hose everything down with bleach, and you'll be just fine. If you're still worried, you can go to the local hardware store, Builder Square or Ace, and get yourself some plexiglass and build yourself a box or a cage. There are plenty of things that you can do yourself that don't burden your already overtaxed employer. A lot of friends, good patriots that I know, people who read the Constitution daily, are even going so far as to install their own air filtration systems using UV lighting, which can sometimes be done for just pennies on the dollar. If you're still not comfortable going back to work after all that, even though the corona flu is make-believe, then honestly, you don't deserve the right to work, which is a privilege. The Constitution is pretty clear on this. Article 73, Section 45B clearly says a job is not a right, it's a privilege. If you can't or won't work, you have only yourself to blame. We also know from the Bible, Thessalonians 3:10, if a man will not work, neither shall he eat. Employers have really taken a beating during this whole pandemic, folks. They deserve our pity, not our scorn. People like Jeff Bezos are working around the clock, sometimes longer, to make sure we have the goods and services that we need to survive. Giant corporations like Target, Walmart, Amazon, they simply don't have the resources to protect employees from every single germ that happens to fall from the sky. They're just too busy trying to maintain some semblance of profitability, despite the opposition that they meet on a day-to-day basis from employees who honestly are just looking for a handout. The other day I was talking to a CEO of a major corporation, whose name I won't mention out of respect, and he was in tears. He says to me, "Jeremy, I just don't think I can go on anymore. I care so much about my employees, but no matter what I do, it's never enough," he says. "I would go up on a cross for them if I thought it would help, but it's never enough. I'm thinking about tendering my resignation," he said. And you know what I said to him? I said, "Jeff, you will not tender your resignation. You will stand up to those entitled bullies and you will put your foot down. It's your business, not theirs. If it wasn't for you, those crooks wouldn't even be alive. They should be the ones going up on a cross for you." If it were up to me, people would be forced to go back to work. If you refused, you would be arrested and thrown in jail until you learned your lesson. As Americans, work is the most important thing that we do. This country was built on work. Industrious Europeans came here in search of the freedom to work as many hours as they pleased, free from persecution. Yes, these are tough times. You could go to work, get sick, and die. But is that really an excuse? After all your employer has done for you, crucifying themselves over and over, sometimes dozens of times a day, just that you can sit around whining about it? I've got news for you folks. You're not entitled to anything. Your employer owes you nothing. Not masks, not gloves, not bleach, not even wages. Work is a privilege. As the great George Washington once famously said, "To work is to be free. To toil without recompense is to be, in the purest sense, happy." If it were up to me, folks, even in death, you would not be released from the privilege of working in unsafe conditions. Even if you, say, tried to take your own life because conditions on this planet are so intolerable, you would be yanked back from the brink and forced back to your workstation where you would toil forever and ever without lunch or even a 10-minute break. That's all I got for you today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I encourage you this week to tap into your own deep reservoir of inner patriotism, to get out there and get back to work. Don't worry about germs or Dr. Fauci. Just bury your head in the sand and really give it your all. And while you're at it, when you get back to work, instead of clocking in, go ahead and clock out. Go ahead and work off the clock for a few weeks as a little thank you to your employer. Lord knows they need it.